really honored to be here, particularly since I represent an association that promotes peace through law and rule of law, strictly linked with human dignity. So it's really an honor to be here. I wanted particularly to thank the President of the Constitutional Court of Zimbabwe and the President of the Constitutional Court of Morocco for all this amazing organization, and also all the delegates that have been involved in the organization of this conference. Well, thinking about what could I say with so many wise people that are here, and so people that know so much more than I do about human dignity, I was thinking that in order to understand what really is human dignity and what can bring us in the near future, I could reflect only 5 minutes with the origins, when humans started to think whether if we had an inherent dignity or whether if we didn't. So first of all, I think that all that we are gathered here share one fact, that humans are exceptionals. That exceptionalism is what make us different from other animals or other parts of nature. And that's really what gives us that dignity. I'm not saying that animals or the forest do not have dignity, but at least as far as today, we still have a further dignity. I don't know, maybe in 10, 15 years, there will be a different speech. But nowadays, we have a dignity above other species. So, the first reference that I identify as referring to human dignity, I would say is Greek and Roman culture. Greek philosophers and Roman philosophers. Aristotle and Cicerone were the ones referring that about that exceptionalism of humans and that dignity inherent to all of us. No? Remember that quote from Cicero: "Let's be slaves of the law in order to be free." That's the first reference, in my view, to human dignity. Christians afterwards, also 500, 600 years later, also debated about what are we, what are humans within this complex world of animals, of planets, of everything. No? And it was Tomás de Aquino, the famous theologist, who referred that human dignity is founded because we are a divine creation, because we are a reflect and an image of God. So that's what in Christian theology, I'm talking about 1200, century 1300, it was when also Christians understood that we were different of other things that we can see on earth and on the nature. No? Also, Islamism, the other Abrahamic religion, jointly with Judaism, also reflected about that. And they also, even in the Quran, it is said that humans come from God, and therefore we are elevated and different from other species, I was saying. Then we get to the Enlightenment era, where we humans and philosophers start to discuss human dignity irrespectively of religion. They are not focused on religion. They are focused on rational, on reason. And there are a bunch of them, of course, and you know them very well, but I wanted to quote a little bit Immanuel Kant. And he said that it is our capacity of making rational decisions is the rational proof that we have an inherent dignity, and that this inherent dignity is universal. It doesn't matter where you're from, it doesn't matter your social status, it's really something that all humans have. And then it was being said by some of you, then unfortunately the First World War and the Second World War devastated the world, and particularly after the Second World War, human dignity was another time discussed, and thanks to the Declaration of the United Nations that some of you have quoted in extent, we also, all the countries agreed that humans have inherent dignity. And was during the Cold War years, after the Second World War, when some men, particularly Sir Winston Churchill and Chief Justice L. Warren, they decided to mobilize the whole international legal community to promote peace through law and to promote rule of law. A rule of law that will not be such if it does not recognize human dignity. I will get back to that during my last minute. So these guys, these extraordinary men, created the World Jurist Association, and that really gathers chief justices, judges, professors, legal practitioners from all around the world in that idea that we can achieve peace through law, and that rule of law is the only alternative to the rule of force. And they created the World Law Congress. The first one was in 1963. I know that some of you are going to attend the World Law Congress of 2025 on Dominican Republic. I'm making a formal invitation to all of you to attend and to discuss not only within the African continent, but with the whole world, with chief justices of all continents, about human dignity and rule of law. And just my last remarks is referred to a history and a conversation that I had with Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg of the Supreme Court. I had the opportunity to meet her in Washington, D.C. when we were delivering her the Nobel Prize of the Law, the World Peace and Liberty Award in Washington, and during a dinner at the well-known Watergate Hotel, we were discussing about rule of law, and at some point with a very weak voice, because he was already quite old, but also with a lot of strength, he said, forget about the rule of law. If it's not human dignity, if it doesn't have an anthropocentric view, it will not be a rule of law. It will be a bunch of norms, maybe enacted by a parliament, but if it is an architectural institutional, that is the human dignity is not really at the center, it will not be a rule of law. We cannot call that a rule of law, because rule of law is, you said it, quite several of you, is to protect minorities, to protect the weakest. The majority does not really need the rule of law, and we have to avoid to end it up, as Tocqueville said, in a tyranny of the majority. So hope to see you all on the Dominican Republic, and thank you very much to all the organizers, and I hope I stick to my 5 minutes. Thank you very much.